Now, for those of you who put some time in with me, I'm pretty sure you've heard me speak extensively on the term square worlds reject. It's a whole lot of them running around in this game. But for the sake of having a direct point of reference on the internet on the topic, here we are with this video, man. So we're going to talk about it. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
Bitch, you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but wanna win his reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these.
Now, I know y'all see a lot of people running around in these streets playing a role, and they play the role very well. They fit the part. At least that's the way it looks. But when you take time to really understand certain people and understand what it is versus what it's supposed to be, you understand that a lot of these people are what I call the square worlds rejects. Now, what is a square worlds reject? I mean, as the term implies, you know, people who really belong in the square world, people who are squares by nature, but they're rejects of that world, meaning they cannot cut it in the square world. So therefore, you know, they jump into the street life because, you know, the street life, you know, respectfully, is very easy to get into. And there's no regulation in the street life that can, you know, for sure kick you out or reject you from the street life. You know, now your peers, other people in the streets can reject you. But, you know, for a young lady in the game, for instance, right, that might be a square worlds reject. If she get in the game, there's no authority that's going to kick her out of the game. Pimpin' might reject her, might not let her choose. You know, she might be outcasted by her peers. But at the end of the day, if she want to sell that thing, she can sell that thing, and there's nobody or anything that's going to stop her, right? So that's why, you know, the game is really a safe haven for the square worlds rejects, right? Now, speaking of chicks in the game, you know, as I've said many times before, a lot of these chicks really belong at somebody's college or somebody's trade school, or, you know, working somebody's 9 to 5 somewhere, you know, maybe fast food or telemarketing or, you know, customer service or something along those lines, right? But the problem is a lot of these chicks who are in the game now tried that and failed at that, right? Now, for those of y'all who are those types of people who go to school and go to work consistently daily, you know, it seems like nothing to you because that's all you know. But what you don't understand is that it's not always easy to be you, right? If you are somebody who for years or any extended period of time have went to school and completed school, you know, you should be proud of yourself. If you're somebody who consistently goes to work and holds down a 9 to 5, you show up on time every day and you do your job to the best of your ability, you should be proud of yourself because, you know, you might think it's easy to be you, or you might be accustomed to being you, but it's not really easy to be you, because if it was, a lot of these people that's in the game would be you. They would be doing the same thing you doing, right? But they can't cut it though. So, like I said, a lot of these chicks in the game that's selling that thing right now, once upon a time, they was, you know, working dead end job to dead end job, you know, fast food to fast food job. They worked at the Waffle House, but got fired at the Waffle House because they was, you know, smoking on the job, or, you know, doing something that they ain't had no business doing on the job, or they kept showing up late, you know, without a valid excuse, so they kept missing days without calling in, you know, just being irresponsible basically. So they couldn't maintain that job at the Waffle House, so they got fired. Then they went to Wendy's. You know, same thing at Wendy's, and they got fired from Wendy's. Then they went to Walmart, got fired for the same thing. Then they tried to go to a trade school. You know, they tried to go to esthetician school or beauty school or barber school or something like that, and couldn't complete that. Failed when it came to that. So, when the opportunity presented itself, and when they were, awakened out of hibernation to the fact that, the game is readily available to them, they jump off in the game, right? But what they don't understand is, if you come into the game with that same irresponsibility that you had in the square world, with that same lack of work ethic that you had in the square world, guess what? Just like you failed in the square world, you're going to fail in the game too. It's just the failure is more comfortable in the game, right? Because there's no regulation really. There's no authority that can fire you from the game, and there's no regulation that keeps a certain order that's mandatory in the game. A chick can go to sleep when she want to go to sleep, wake up when she want to wake up, work when she feel like it, not work when she don't feel like it, and still maintain her position in the game, unlike anything in the square world. So that's why a lot of chicks jump off in the game, right? But again, ultimately, a lot of these chicks are the square world's rejects. Bad attitudes. That's another reason why they can't cut it in like a telemarketing or any kind of customer service business that has to do with dealing with people on a regular basis. They charisma is trash. Their people skills are trash. So that's why they can't, maintain a customer service job. And when they bring that trash attitude and trash people skills to the game, guess what? They dealing with tricks the same way. So just like they failed in the customer service world, in the square world, they gonna fail dealing with tricks in the game. They gonna, a lot of chicks don't know what to do. They don't have the game to deal with a trick that's declining them or not giving them what they want, that they can't have their way with. So they get belligerent, they get disrespectful, they go crazy, all this type of stuff, just because you can't convince a trick to give you what you want or the way that you want, how you want. So, the game is filled with those, right? But those aren't the only kind of square world's rejects, because guess what? A lot of these guys in the game are the square world's rejects as well. What do I mean? Hey, man, you have people that have had, professional square careers. They might have been school teachers. They might be college graduates, but yet and still, they want to either actually or pretend to have been a participant of this game. You dig? It's just something about the lifestyle that's just appealing to certain squares, and I understand that, but it shouldn't be appealing to the point that you want to pretend to be something that you're not. But nevertheless, you got a lot of people that pretend to be something that they not, and they get on the internet and act like once upon a time they was pimping, act like once upon a time they was selling dope, act like once upon a time they was, some on some thug activities in the streets. But it's like, if you was going to school and you was had a career and all this type of stuff, when did you have time to be a part of any of that? One, and then two, if you actually work, because there are some people that actually do become a part of that, why would you do that? Right? These people obviously failed, as students or as, people that had whatever career that they had. They failed in that world, so, they couldn't cut it in that world. So, it's cool to just jump off in the streets and pretend to be something that you're not. And especially with the advent of the internet now, people getting on here, and the internet is very lucrative, and on the internet is kind of like the county jail. Anybody who done been to the county jail know that it's all kind of people in the county jail with all these lofty stories about what they done did in the streets. This fairy tale, folklore, not true, false. You dig? But in the county jail, if you don't know these people from the streets, you can't really prove what they saying, but a bullshitter when you see a bullshitter. You just know certain people be full of shit, telling you these stories about you know, how many birds they was moving on the streets and how they was the man, and you know what I mean, the most notorious gangster that you know, they was slapping him, and you know what I mean, you know, they done slapped Tookie Williams, and you know, they used to give Raymond Washington wedgies and all this old type of shit. You know what I mean? They used to beat up Jeff Fort and chase him home from school all the time. You know what I mean? They you know, they showed Larry Hoover how to be a gangster. Let some of these people tell it. You dig? In the county jail. But then you get out to the streets and you might run into them on the streets and it ain't nothing like that. You dig? Night and day from the shit they were saying in the county. But the internet is the same way. People could get on the internet and pretend to be anything that they want to be. They can study. You know, it's just like being an actor, studying a movie script, learning the script. You know what I mean? You might even hang out with somebody who fits the description of the character in the script that you supposed to be playing, and learn their mannerisms, learn they, you know, patterns and, you know, characteristics and things like that. And you might do a real convincing job acting, you know, playing that role. And this is what a lot of people on the internet do. You know, all kinds of people, man. You know, people pretending to be gangsters, people pretending to be dating coaches, people pretending to be all kinds of stuff, you know, because the internet is so bountiful with information and things that you can learn from, resources, what have you. A lot of people get on the internet, man, and they study certain things and learn it as much as they can and then pretend to be that. And a lot of y'all, because you don't know no better, you might be a square that ain't never been in the streets or been around people in the streets, so you don't know no better, and they convince you of something that's totally false. But for those of us that's authentic and really in it, you know, we know how to separate game from lame and see a lame from a mile away. You dig? So, but yeah, these are people that's the Square World's rejects. Then you have other kinds of Square World's rejects too, who come from good families, you know, nice, stable, 2-parent homes, you know, might even be a upper class or wealthy, you know, stable home that they came from. But unlike they parents and unlike they siblings and unlike they cousins and grandparents and everybody in their family, they just wasn't cut out for what everybody else in the family traditionally did. You know, going to school, graduating, top of the class, you know, getting degrees, you know, becoming doctors and lawyers, or, you know, wealthy entrepreneurs and things like that. You got people who come from that type of background, but they just not cut out for that. And at the same time, they fascinated with urban culture. They're fascinated with the street life, right? So, you know, you have people like that jump off into the game too, and, you know, make it seem like they doing some big old stuff. But when you understand where they come from, you understand their background, you understand that they were failures in the square world and rejected from the square world. And that's why they're in the game. And they don't, you know, people who come from that type of background, they don't understand why the majority of us who are in the game resort to the game. You dig? Because most of us come from poverty, and, you know, we don't have a culture that promotes us educating ourselves in certain ways, and therefore, you know, pursuing certain career paths and things of that nature, right? Most of us who come from the hood, we ain't growing up around people that's financially literate. Most of us who come from the hood, we not, you know, being taught from an early age, you know, how to be responsible when it comes to your credit and, you know, your name and handling certain business, right? We don't, you know, it's a lot of things that we don't come up understanding. So because of our environment and because of, you know, the way that the world is, you dig, we end up in the streets. But you have people who grow up with every reason to be financially literate and business savvy and ambitious and, you know, encouraged to go the right path and all that type of stuff. Nonetheless, they end up going down a path they ain't got no business and don't belong. You know, it's like, how did you get here? You know, and you got, here we have it, you know, we got a whole lot of Malibu's Most Wanted, you know, don't be hating type cats in the game, you dig? But they the Square World's rejects. And that's the unfortunate thing about the game too, man. You know, see me, I don't accept everybody and I don't respect everybody. You dig? Everybody ain't acceptable and respectable when it comes to this pimping. But you got a lot of dudes who respect everybody that knows the secret handshake, man. Freeze don't respect everybody that know the secret handshake. And the handshake ain't so secret no more because, you know, we have the internet where it's all kind of people that show you how to do the secret handshake. You dig? So the secret handshake ain't even so secret no more. But nonetheless, because certain individuals know the handshake and they know how to say, hey now, say now, and all that type of stuff, you know, people respect them and accept them. So they encourage the Square World's rejects to be a part of the game. You dig? But hey man, it's okay to be a square, right? You know, I appreciate squares for everything that they do in all the different realms of life that they operate in. Hey man, being a square is a beautiful thing, you dig? Shout out to the squares. But, you know, I just had to point that out, you know, and put that on a platter like it don't matter for y'all to see, you know, what the Square World's reject is and, you know, learn from the Square World's rejects so that you don't become the Square World's rejects. And as tough as the Square World may be, you know, it's much better to tough it out and go through it to get to it. Because what people don't understand, once again, you know, if you're the Square World's reject, resorting to the streets or resorting to the game doesn't mean that you're going to have automatic success. Because guess what? The same things that make you successful, the same characteristics and qualities that make you successful in the Square World are the same characteristics and qualities that make you successful in the game. You dig? So if you ain't got it in one, you ain't gonna have it in the other, and therefore, because you wasn't successful in one, you ain't gonna be too successful in the other. You dig? But let that marinate on your mind one time. Freeze is it. Go ahead, put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out. Dig this. I've been stroking relentless to get waves like this. I spoke into existence for her to pay like this. In the trenches on a day like this, traffic consistent, and so I have to insist that she relay my chips. It's a trap with her name on it and my game on it. Any forces coming against this game, shame on it. Standing on my pimpin' from day one and remain on it. It carried me through every terrain and I gained on it. Experience joy and pain on it, sustained on it.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Baby,